In this video, we're going to construct a midpoint of a segment. So first thing that we need to do is to construct segment AB. So we're going to use the segment tool and construct our segment. Any length is fine. Now I'm going to construct a circle with center A passing through B, and also a circle with center B passing through A. Now, I know that AB is, of course, equal to itself, but I also know that they share a radius of each circle. What we're going to do is we're going to construct a point C at one of the intersections where these two circles intersect. We don't need both of the intersections, just one of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our point tool and hover until we see that, yes, I've got circle C and circle D intersecting at point C. Now, this point is dependent on the length of this segment, or in other words, the radii of the circles. And I can test that by using my move tool and selecting either A to change the size of the circles or B to change the size of the circles, and of course that would in turn move point C. What we're going to do now is going to construct point D at the other intersection. So use your point tool and hover until you see, yes, I'm selecting the intersection of both circles. And now what does D depend on? D does not depend on C. D, like C, depends on points A and B and how far apart they are. Their distance is going to determine the radius of each of these two circles, which will change where C and D are actually going to be. So now what we're going to do is we're going to construct a segment that connects point C and point D. So select your segment tool, click on C, and then click on D. Now we have a segment that is connecting them, and because these two circles are exactly the same size, this particular chord of each circle will cut segment AB in half. So it's going to go through whatever this point is on that segment AB, which happens to be its midpoint. What we're going to do is we're going to construct that midpoint by clicking on the point tool and hovering until we get the segment F and segment G selected. And now what we're going to do is we're going to measure to double check that, yes, that is exactly in the center. So here we have a distance or length measuring tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from point A to point E. And it says I am at 4.1 units. I'm also going to go from point E to point B, and it says that that is 4.1 units as well. And I'm going to use the move tool to move these measurements out of the way here. So point E is the bisector of segment AB. We can also say that segment CD is a bisector of segment AB. So we could also measure this angle right here, because this sounds really familiar with this process that we're doing. It sounds a little bit like constructing a perpendicular line. So on a hunch, what we're going to do is measure this angle right here. Measure angle CEB, and it's 90 degrees. Well, what that means is that not only is this point E a bisector of segment AB, and we've constructed the midpoint of the segment, but we've also constructed a perpendicular bisector of that segment AB at the same time. So you see how these properties all work together.